Hello, homies, and welcome back to Homeopathy Hangout, where today we get to hang out with the one of our incredible return guests, Paula Brown. Welcome back to the show.
Hello, thank you for having us, having me and us, our organization. It's so nice to hang out with you and to be here. So,
Uh, Well, you've been on the podcast, I think, was it like the third or fourth time now? But we actually have an emergency update. So we are going to
yeah.
be uploading this episode immediately after record. So no expletives because we can't edit them out.
Okay, won't swear.
Okay, no swearing. Gonna give you all the good, juicy info that you need to know. Paola is one of those people that in the homeopathy world, if we were going to erect any like monuments, Paola
Oh,
is one of
stop.
those people. No,
Heavens
honestly.
no.
So this is the thing, like you are working tirelessly in the background to literally save homeopathy in America, and people need to know about this. But there are going to be listeners that actually have no idea of what's going on
I
politically with
know.
homeopathy in America. So I'm going to give you the impossible task of giving us a super
Yeah.
quick rundown of what's been happening with homeopathy politically in America the past few years and the groundbreaking news of what's happening right now, and then the call to action for our listeners,
Yeah.
because you actually, as our listeners, have a chance to help, and we need desperately your help, everybody's help, if you want to keep homeopathy safe in America. Paula, go for it.
Okay, well, first of all, I just want you guys to know that I feel very positive and optimistic. And so I'm going to review what the situation is, and that might feel a little stressful, but I feel very positive, and I think we can do this. I really think we can do this if the community bands together. So essentially, in the United States, we're kind of in a gambit type situation. If we do nothing, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, is going to continue to erode our access to homeopathic medicines. And so we do kind of have to do something. Sometimes it's better just do nothing, lie low, maybe it'll go away, but it hasn't. It's been slowly but surely getting worse. So essentially, in the United States, homeopathic medicines are legally drugs per the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. So it's not a supplement. It's not regulated under any kind of supplement laws like DSHEA laws or the supplement laws. So homeopathy is a drug per the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. And unfortunately, well, for I'm not unfortunately, and for decades and decades, FDA would create new laws for the chemical drugs, but they would always say, but these don't really apply to homeopathy, like these, this manufacturing thing or this labeling thing or this new drug application, all these different laws that they had to pass because actually drugs were hurting and killing people. They would just always say, but this doesn't apply to homeopathy. But that was never done by law. The words this stuff here and that stuff there doesn't apply to homeopathy was never actually put into the law or put into any regulations. And so that means when FDA woke up one day in 2015, 2016 is when this started to brew. When they woke up one day and said, you know what, we're going to kind of change our attitude towards homeopathy and we're going to be more aggressive with it, there was nothing to stop them from doing that. And so essentially, where homeopathy is right now is it lives in this space called FDA discretion. And FDA discretion just means what they feel like they can and can't do to homeopathy, which is kind of a free for all for FDA. And so we realized pretty quickly that we needed to change the structure. So we have been trying to get FDA to improve their policies around homeopathy because that would be an immediate bit of relief. But long term, we shouldn't be subject to the whims of the FDA, whoever's in charge, whatever administration is in charge. We need to have something legal that sticks that will secure our access to homeopathic medicines. And um, so that's kind of the two branches of what Homeopathy Choice is doing. On the one hand, we have had significant meetings with FDA. I actually met with the FDA commissioner just before Christmas. This was a huge meeting, once in a lifetime meeting for an organization like ours. I don't think the homeopathy community has met with the FDA commissioner in decades. Decades. So it was a really, really big deal that we got this meeting. And we very eloquently said, you guys need to dial back your policies around homeopathic medicines. Their policy literally right now outlines how to remove homeopathic medicines from the market. It's not a policy that says like, oh, if you do this, you're good, you can be on the market, but if you do that, you have to. They outlined all of these things that essentially is the removal of homeopathic medicines. So like in their policy, it says, well, we're going to take enforcement action using their discretion. So they essentially said, we're going to remove, we're going to put on our priority list homeopathic injectables, for example. Homeopathic injectables is something used by medical doctors in a clinical setting. And so those are gone overnight. And I really freaked out when I saw this. And the homeopaths were like, oh, we don't use homeopathic injectables. Like, that's not a big deal. And I said, no, no, no. The mechanism in which they took these out of our country overnight is the same mechanism they can use for other stuff. Then their guidance also lists homeopathic eye drops. those are gone from the United States overnight because they blocked them at the border.
Really?
They wouldn't let them, yeah, they're gone. So they wouldn't let them in. You know what else their guidance lists? They list any medicines made from toxic source materials.
So
Can you
our
think
best
of a few?
remedies.
I mean, right. So
Mm,
so that's kind of or any medicine made for children. Well, all of homeopathy can be used for children. So I
wow.
read this guidance and I'm like, this isn't like a narrow list of just a few categories. This is really it's so broad and over vague. It really covers all of homeopathy. And we've seen them take actions on certain categories and they were gone overnight, like overnight. So so when I met with the commissioner's office and the commissioner, I said to them, listen, your Congress decided in 1938 that we should have access to homeopathic medicines. Else, why would they put it in the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act to legalize it? And so I said to them, your policy cannot be the removal of medicines. Essentially, that's what it is. It's a removal path. And so, that was my conversation with them. But on the flip side, again, we can't just be subject to what administration is in charge of the government, because in our government, the executive office, which is the office of the president, is who selects the administration for the FDA, the HHS, all these agencies. So we need to pass legislation that will kind of supersede all of that. And so what we did is we worked for 30 with 30, over 30 homeopathic manufacturers and brand owners, and we worked on our legislation, drafting it for 2 years. We essentially met with small, medium, and large businesses, and we said, "What are your biggest challenges? If I could fix anything, what language would you want? What are the biggest pain points with you when an FDA inspector comes, for example? And how can we create a law that customizes the uniqueness of homeopathic medicines?" We also met and worked with the leaders of all the major organizations: North American Society of Homeopathy. We've worked with American Institute of Homeopathy, the National Center for Homeopathy. We worked with their leaders. We created an organization called the Homeopathy Consumer Council. So I invited them all to have a seat at the table. They could see parts of our legislation and all of the legislation. And essentially, we worked very collaboratively. And so in the end, we came up with a really solid piece of legislation that, helps the different types of businesses that produce homeopathic medicines, from the smaller single remedy producers to the more mass market guys. And we just wanted to make sure everyone had access. But I was kind of, actually, people have been really excited and very supportive of our efforts. But I was a little like, I was very interested, I should say, not little. I was very interested to see the questions people had about our legislation. And I've been collecting them because I've been wanting to answer those. So if you want, we can kind of go
Please
through.
go for it.
Okay. So, I kind of outlined the first question, which is, what's the concern? What medicines have been lost? Like, is this really a concern, or are you just freaking out? Like, no, this is a real concern. And then the other question is, who developed this legislation? So educating them, we're a consumer-based organization. I'm a consumer. I'm not a practitioner. So I won't have only practitioner views, but we also brought to the table consumers, practitioners, and producers of homeopathic medicines. And we really listened, and we're very proud of our legislation. Um, Another question is, people ask me, is like, why are you involving FDA in this? I don't think the FDA should be involved. And my answer to that is, essentially, you've had the luxury of not realizing the FDA is and has been very involved. You just didn't know, And so by nature of that, really our legislation is going to limit the FDA's kind of free-for-all that they've been having around homeopathic medicines. It's going to give it guardrails. You can't apply all of the drug laws on homeopathy. You need specific ones that make sense for its really for its unique nature and its long history of safe use. It should the should be reflected in that. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else? Like what sort of other, because I know you've had some Zoom meetings recently as well. Like what sort of other things have people asked, and um, what do you think is important for them to know about what's happening at the moment?
Well, another big question, which I think is a really important one, is, will this legislation increase the cost of homeopathic medicines? And that's a very fair question. And the answer is no. In fact, the opposite is true. The cost of homeopathic medicines have already been rising. Again, people may not have noticed this, but they have been going up, and it's because of FDA applying all of these crazy regulations on homeopathic medicines that don't make sense. So this legislation is going to decrease that regulatory uncertainty. Homeopathic medicines will be, it'll make it more clear, like what do they need to do to come to market? And it will outline more clearly what specifically homeopathic medicines need to do to be legally manufactured. And that stability will actually make it easier for manufacturers, and then it will kind of stop this bloating that's already been happening. Another question is like, will the legislation require federal funding? The answer is no. We're not asking for any additional funding from the government to do. We're just asking them to do what they're doing, but correctly and
Mm,
better, you know?
mm.
So,
I can totally
and
see how that stability, if you're a business, you are not going to want to invest money if all of these things are so uncertain. And so creating that certainty is definitely going to be great for
well,
homeopathic
that's
business
actually
for
another
sure.
way we've lost medicines that people don't realize. So, like, sure, the FDA blocked access to injectables and eye drops, but businesses are saying it's too risky to be in homeopathy. Let's diversify outside of homeopathy and do, like, I don't know, vitamin C. Actually, here's a good example. There was a company that used to sell a lot of homeopathic medicines, and now they do like Tylenol that's dye-free.
Oh, wow.
They've diversified outside of that space, still trying to cater to like the holistic crowd, but they're diversifying outside. And if all was well in homeopathy, they wouldn't be doing that. So you're losing access to medicine simply because companies are choosing not to reissue product lines, not to invest into new products. And so, and that's an issue. And then the single remedy manufacturers are under a ton of pressure because this cost, what it costs to bring a mass market product out is the same cost to bring every single potency of every single remedy. And they're not selling mass market millions. They're selling a big lot for them is 50
Mm,
individual
mm,
bottles, but the cost to produce that is the same as like a mass market, like, cold calm type thing. So it's really, so this legislation is very much needed. And so, the price has gone up,
mm,
just, and our legislation would stop that. So um, another question people are saying, well, can you make it so that this legislation will make homeopathy covered by insurance? That's actually beyond the scope of our legislation because that's something that's done at state by state level generally. So we wouldn't be able to do that even if we wanted to. And I think the last one that people have is like, because our big ask right now is, will you please write Congress? Will you write Congress and just go to our website, homeopathychoice.org. It takes 2 minutes to just submit a comment to your member of Congress. Our hope is that we're going to get to 100,000 messages to Congress. We are pretty far from that right now. I think we're getting close to like 10,000 messages, which is a good start.
mm,
But we need people to flood Congress. And people are saying, well, what's the point? I know my member of Congress won't support homeopathy. And I just want people to know that that's the kind of belief that our opponents hope the homeopathy community will have. They hope that you will feel discouraged and defeated. They want you to give up before even trying. So don't do that. Send in your letter, send in your comment. I had a funny experience, Eugenie, when I was talking to someone on our Facebook post, and she was like, oh, I live in Illinois and nobody in Illinois wants to support homeopathy. I already know. And I responded to this person, and it's kind of annoying because people will make these comments and they never come back and like acknowledge that I've responded, but we respond to your comments. But I was just like, listen, I know it can be discouraging, but actually, do you realize that it was an Illinois representative that co-sponsored this legislation?
wow.
And he has
Wow.
no record of supporting natural medicine or anything. His name is Jonathan Jackson. We have a bipartisan legislation. We have Pete Sessions, Republican, Jonathan Jackson, Democrat, and then Dr. Mike Kennedy, a Republican, which we really like getting that MD on our legislation. And this
Mm,
is on the House. That's what we've introduced is legislation on the House. We have to do a companion bill in the Senate. And I was like, so, they count on you giving up. The fact that people think it's over before it's even started is exactly the attitude that our opponents hope that the
mm,
homeopathy community will have. And I have to say, the homeopathy community has really stepped up, and we all need to continue stepping up. Um, and then another thing you can do if you want to do a little bit more, you can donate, or you can also join our homeopathy action team. That's our grassroots team. And those are the people, okay, when you write Congress, you're going to send your letter in, right? You're going to go homeopathychoice.org. You're going to send your letter in 2 minutes. You might get a response from your member of Congress on this issue, and it's going to fall under one of three things. They're either going to be supportive, they're either going to give you like a lot of FDA mumbo jumbo that is
Mm,
not supportive,
mm.
or they're going to talk about it as if it was supplements, so they don't even know what they're talking about. So it's going to be one of those three things. I can promise you, if they write back to you in a supportive tone, it's because we have a HAP member that has been working with that office and educating them. Number two, if they're not supportive, I can promise you it's probably because we don't have a HAP member there. And number three, if they don't know what they're talking about, it's because we don't have a HAP member there. And so we need to flood, you know, the grassroots work. And that's something
Mm,
that you'll be invited to do after you send a comment. So
mm. There's a couple of things that I'm just aware that we should probably for our listeners just kind of highlight because there has, if you go on Spotify, I usually find that's the easiest way to do it. You go to Homeopathy Hangout, you type in Paola, and then you'll get Paula's episodes. But also, we recently did a episode with Kathleen Shibley, and I'll go look up the episode in a second and tell
oh,
you the
she's great.
number. She really is. So, I, first thing I want to ask is, so it's obviously for American citizens that need to, they are the ones that can send this letter to Congress? And are
Yes.
they anywhere in the world, like
It
American
doesn't need to be
citizens?
a citizen, just
Okay,
a resident. So you have to have,
okay,
because you have to enter your address and that will geolocate the member of Congress assigned to your
okay,
area.
gotcha.
So you don't have to be a citizen, but
So if you're
yeah.
currently living overseas, but you are an American citizen, can you still do that if you have a
I
address?
think you can. And I think you just do your most recent address that you had in
Okay.
the US.
Okay. Then secondly, there's a few also my brain when you talk about all these legal things, I'm like, I don't know how you get your head around all of this, but clearly you have navigated your way through this very easily. Um, the hat team is different to the pack team. So you've got the action
Yes.
team.
Okay.
Can you just tell what that? So you've
Yeah.
got,
Let me tease those
and also
apart.
we've probably I should have at the start, and I'll do an intro. The homeopathy choice. Just say you've said just say the website homeopathychoice.org. Just you kind of have an idea now a little bit hopefully for the listeners what they do, but also they have these homeopathy the action team, and then they have the pack as well. Can you just quickly give a rundown for our listeners
Yeah.
so they know what that is?
Yes. Okay. So all we're asking you to do right now is go to homeopathychoice.org, send in a comment. But if
Okay.
you want to take the next step, you can join our grassroots team. We call it HAT, which is Homeopathy Action Team. You're going to get trained. The training has actually been significantly simplified, and you're going to get trained on how to build a relationship with your member of Congress and how to talk in an educated manner about this. Because a bill is introduced, your conversations with the House is going to be so much easier than they had been for the last few years. It's basically like before we were asking, like, will you marry me? Will you introduce this legislation? Then a legislation is introduced. It's like you're just saying, can you come to the wedding? That's really what you're trying to say. Will you support this? Now, Kathleen Shibley, I work very closely with her. Actually, I have a meeting with her tomorrow morning. She runs the PAC. The PAC is where we get funding to support the members of Congress who has stepped up and supported us. Because like it or not, this might make some of you feel like, oh, I don't know if I like that. That's the way it works. Until the world changes how it functions,
Mm,
people who are working for you in Congress, they want to get reelected. And so if we can donate even a small token amount to thank them for their support and to help them understand, what's going on. And it's episode 425, I think. Is that what you said? 425. Yeah, that's episode 425 with Kathleen. And she's so wonderful. And so, yeah, when a member of Congress steps up and co-sponsors legislation, they're going to be attacked. They're going to war for you. And so if they have to spend more time fundraising for you, for themselves to stay in office, they won't have as much time to fight for you. And so that's what Kathleen is doing. So there's really a lot of different ways you can support us. You can join the HAT team, donate to Homeopathy Choice, or donate to the PAC, the Homeopathic Medicine PAC.
amazing. And follow you on Instagram and Facebook as well, and share your posts and things like that so that people become aware of this. But right now, the main thing we want to have you get out of today is to go to homeopathychoice.org and
Mhm.
go and contact Congress through there. So there is a link there. It says contact Congress, and you can just do it through there. I'll just quickly share screen here as well so people can have a look if they're watching on the video. So this is the Americans for Homeopathy Choice website. So go homeopathychoice.org and you can just click on here, contact Congress, and go from there.
Yep. Yep, that's
Okay.
right. Yep, and it's very easy. You'll just fill in your address. And if you're from overseas and you're like, how can I help? donate to
Mm,
us because we really do need the funding. We have a lobbying firm that we've been able to hire to support the work on the grassroots team. Our grassroots team really does a lot of heavy lifting, but I would never go to court without an attorney to represent me. And I don't think I want to go down this path of trying to introduce, or sorry, trying to pass legislation without having good representation that will keep an eye on things. No one's going to
mm,
pull a quick one on the
mm,
homeopathy community, and they've been amazing.
mm.
They've been amazing, and they've gotten us a lot of support already. So we're working on getting co-sponsors now to grow the list of people who support this legislation.
All right. I don't know how you do all of this. But also, just for our listeners, the timer is ticking. And so you've got 7 days. I mean, I've been told there's like a little bit more than that, but really, let's do it within the next 7 days, as many signatures as possible. Really go hard. Share it on all of your socials. If you, even if you're overseas, share it on your socials so your American friends can see this. This is like an incredible opportunity that we have to really make a difference. And, Australia really likes to follow America. So, I think if
Politically,
you
yeah.
guys can pull
Mhm.
it off, hopefully our guys over here will wake up a bit as well. And it's really important. It does affect all of us, and the ripples of it affects all of us at the end of the day. So really, dig deep and help in any way that you can. It's our time to stand together. I just really want to make sure that we cover everything that we need to today, Paula. What have I forgotten? Is there anything else to add?
I think that's it. If you want to read the legislation text, Congress is in the process of posting it. I don't know, they have kind of their internal process. It is introduced, but they haven't posted it yet. But if you go to our website, like just from the home page, there's a little menu item that says resources. The very first item on that drop down has a legislative update, and we link to the text. It's just not posted at the time of this recording. Maybe by the time you're watching this, you'll see it posted there. But I do have on that page kind of the goals of the legislation and some details about like the legislation overview, the goals, and then some of those FAQs that we answered. So
Amazing. Thank you just seems so inadequate. I just don't even know how
you're
to
so
thank you for
sweet.
everything that you're
Well,
doing.
thank you. Well, I
Um,
hope we're successful. I know, here's the thing. I know that I deserve access to homeopathic medicines. I've decided to step up and do my part. The question is, does the homeopathy community, you know, are they going to earn access to their homeopathic medicines? Are we just going to hope for access, or are we going to step up and work for it?
mm,
I had a homeopath comment on one of our posts, and she was just like, "Oh, well, I can get my remedies or make my own," or like I don't know what she was talking about, but like she was just kind of referencing some of those things. And I was just like, this sounds a little harsh, but like I think that's great. If you have your own way of getting medicines and you have your own way of accessing them, that's yours. That's great. But I remember being very sick when I didn't know about homeopathic medicines and I couldn't afford a kit yet. And I would run to my local store and I would grab the Cantharis or I would
mm,
grab the Bryonia and I would grab these little remedies. And that's kind of how I built my muscles around homeopathy. And I
yeah.
want not just this special group who's an insider who's gone to homeopathy school that has I want everyone. I want the moms who have sick kids struggling with pandas or a high fever or who's has their back against the wall with really challenging illnesses. I want to save homeopathy for you and for them too,
Mm.
so that people, this it's the people's medicine. I think Denise Strages says that, like it's the people's medicine. And I think she's right. It is the people's medicine, and we really should protect access for all types of homeopathy, for all different views on it, and for people who don't know about it yet. And so that's really what we should be doing. This is our generational opportunity, and we have to step up.
I couldn't have said it better. Let's finish up right there.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Paula. It's such a privilege to get to spend time with you, and thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thanks. I always have fun. You're the best. Thanks.
Bye.